everybody. It is Thursday, May 16th, and we're here again with Weeds and Wisdom. Tonight we have a really interesting topic. I think something that everybody has encountered at some point and probably will again. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that if you miss any of our broadcasts, you can always pick them up again at the Crooked House Herbals YouTube channel. And, you know the drill. Like and subscribe and all that junk. I'm not trying to monetize anything or do anything like that, but it does keep me in the mix. So, anyway, you can catch up on previous sessions that we've done if you've missed any, or if you just want a refresher and try to remember all of the plethora of information that I throw at you on Thursday nights in an hour or less. But anyway, tonight's topic is gut health. And it was actually prompted by my own little bout with some gut issues. 10 days ago, I just had a real struggle, and it was weird. It was like I couldn't eat anything without just really feeling crappy. I mean, even water or anything. So at first I thought, well, I've probably just picked up a bug or something, but I did my usual routine, and I used my bentonite clay, and I drank my aloe vera concoction that I make, that's got aloe vera and peppermint and chamomile and several other really good herbs. And I drank that, and I got through it. But I also really, really restricted what I was eating. I ate just really, really clean and very simple. And after I did that, and I slowed everything way down. It took a long time to chew my food so that I could mix it good with my saliva, and smaller just little bits at a time, and came through the other side. But when I did, I realized it's like, you know what? There's more to this story. So I started digging and was doing some good research, and I came up with some really good information for you guys. Some of it you may already know, but some of it you might not know. And I also have some good herbal suggestions, things that you can do to help yourself or someone you love, maybe, if they're going through something like this. So I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes until everybody gets on, and then we will get started. Sorry, I didn't sleep very much last night, so I'm very yawny, but I'm here and I'm awake. I hope everyone's doing well. I don't know what kind of weather you're having, but we're having more of the same. Storms and rain and kind of gloomy and very cool. I mean, it's very cool up here for the middle of May. I do have my air conditioning on, but it's only because I'm trying to keep all of the pollen outside. We don't have as much here as we did in Hot Springs as far as the pollen count, but it still, I love sleeping with my windows open, but when I do, I wake up with my eyes stuck shut and, just kind of gooey. So I've been keeping my window shut and turning on my air conditioner, but it's just really different. The weather is just very, very different this year. And I'm sure it is for everybody. No matter where you are, I don't think any of us are having typical weather. And that's probably just a sign of the times. All right, let's get started, because I do have quite a bit of information to cover. And feel free to, comment. My internet is kind of delayed tonight, only because of the weather, I think. I'm not I'm not getting things through on my computer real fast, but we'll give it a shot. If you've got questions, type them in, and maybe if I see them on my phone, I can just answer them verbally. We'll give it a shot anyway. If not, you can always email me, Wendy at crookedhouseherbals.com, or you can text me. If you've got my phone number, you can message me on Messenger, Crooked House Herbals. Many ways to get a hold of me. So please do if you've got any questions. All right, Gut Health 101. Tonight we're going to talk about a subject that most everyone has come to know well. Our food and our water have changed drastically. We have talked about this at length, and this last decade has really been a game changer for everybody. I think about all of the people who are having brand new babies and raising small children, and I think, oh boy, you have really got your work cut out for you. And my first suggestion is nurse that kid as long as you can if you're having a baby, because the food situation is downright scary. And the water as well. So stick with your distilled water. I think economically, a countertop distiller is your best bet. You can get them for just a little over $100, and then you can distill whatever water you have. And it would be more economical, beside the fact you don't want 650 million jugs to have to deal with. I save some of mine because I sometimes have to carry water to my animals if, my hoses are frozen or whatever. But a countertop distiller is definitely the way to go if you're going to make that commitment to distilled water. Anyway, our lifestyles are not very supportive of a healthy gut as either. So we've got a lot of strikes against us in this department. In researching for tonight's live, I uncovered some pretty interesting stuff, though. I'm sorry. I apologize about the yawning, but I don't want to drink any caffeine because I want to sleep tonight. Last night, I think I got 2 hours of sleep. So tonight, it's not going to happen. I'm going to sleep. Okay. What is the result of not having a healthy lifestyle, not eating right, having poor food choices, and water that doesn't support a good, healthy lifestyle? Gut issues. And along with that, when you have poor gut health, you have diseases and a lot more ways for Big Pharma to get their hooks into us and get us going around that mountain again with this medication and that medication. And, I hate to sound like a cynic, and I don't want you to think that I am. I'm very realistic about what is going on. And I think that anybody who doesn't see it and doesn't see what's happening, it just doesn't want to. And that's okay. Put the rose-colored glasses back on and get through it however you have to. But I honestly think that there's an agenda that is not in our best interest. And so for that reason, we need to take matters into our own hands. Okay? I'll just leave it at that. But I'm going to break things down for you a little bit tonight. Some chunks of information so that you can just ponder it and you can apply it if it's appropriate for you. And if not, you can discard it. It's fine. I will not have my feelings hurt. I'm here to just help you however I can. As usual, everything I say is informative. It's to be informative. I'm not a licensed physician, but I am a certified master herbalist. And I am here to help you make more informed decisions about your health and that of your family and even your pets. Okay? All right, let's start with A. A is for acidosis, which is, after reading and doing the research that I've done, is exactly what I was suffering with. Was definitely acidosis, and that stuff is horrible. And I'm an avid. I do my apple cider vinegar and honey in the morning. I have my little regimen, and it really kind of caught me off guard. But nevertheless, it was there, and it was miserable, and it was several days. I was just down with it. I was really actually bummed because I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to drink because I didn't want all of this, backlash. I didn't want the acidosis symptoms. I didn't want the gut problems. It was like, it wasn't worth it to me. I'm just not going to eat. But I had to do something because I knew something was wrong. So I ran across this gentleman. His name is Otto Massart. He's a naturopath doctor. And he stated in his book called Herbs, the body needs sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Acidosis is the depletion of these alkali reserves. So I started thinking about that in terms of how I was feeling, and had I allowed my body to get depleted in those areas, and quite honestly, I probably did. I've been kind of burning the candle at both ends, and I haven't actually, been as vigilant with my foods as I probably should have. But I'm also older now than I used to be, and, I feel like maybe things were just depleting. So acidosis is the result of excess acid-forming foods, which are incompletely oxidized. Okay, your body is not eliminating them like they should. And this leads to all kinds of stomach disorders. It sounds simple, but when you realize that the sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium that your body needs, those alkali reserves, if they get depleted, then you become acid. Okay, so enter big pharma and retailers, right? What's the first thing you think of? Tums, right? And Tums and Rolaids and all of these remedies for your acidosis symptoms, all right, pop up. And, everybody's got a jug of something in their medicine cabinet. But we're going to talk about that in a few minutes and why that is not the answer. There's different diseases that are caused by acidosis. They come under this heading because it's a direct cause for most of them. And here's the bottom line. Eating too fast, improper chewing, overeating, and eating the wrong kinds of foods. Those 4 things are what eventually puts you into an acidosis state of acidosis. You think, well, there's no food involved with that. Well, yeah, there is. You're eating the wrong foods, but you're eating too fast. You're not chewing it right. Now, do you remember last week when I talked to you about chewing? Chew. And the reason was why? Because that is your first point of digestion. Mixing your food with your saliva starts the breaking down, the digesting process. And that can't happen if you are literally shoving it into your mouth and doing a couple chomps and swallowing it. That's the way my dog eats. She doesn't even chew her food. She just, But that's what most Americans do too. And why? Because we don't take time to eat. We don't have meals, a proper meal time. we are too busy. We live in the world of drive-throughs and quick fixes, and that's all meant by design as well. So that we will buy convenience foods, we will buy highly refined foods, and contribute to our illness. We're doing it to ourselves. So God created this right here as your first point of digestion. You need to use it. Okay? So eating too fast with improper chewing, overloading your system, and eating the wrong kinds of foods. Hi, Kelly. Those 4 things contribute to it. Now, you have to stop the bad habits in order to have the cure. There's no pill. There's no medicine. There's no cure for this. It is a self-inflicted issue and problem. So if we created that monster, we can get rid of it, right? There's no medicine that can chew your food properly for you. There's no medicine that can stop you from overeating. There's no medicine that can prevent from eating things that are hard to digest. No medication does that for you, unless it's maybe one that makes you throw up, which is not the answer, right? So that has to be initiated and continued, sustained by you. So, food that's not properly masticated and chewed up right is retained longer in your stomach than it should be. So let's just keep up with the process here. As a result, it turns sour and it ferments. It creates an excess amount of gas and acid. This in turn causes a great deal of irritation and inflammation on the mucus lining of your entire digestive system. Because remember, I told you, a certain amount of mucus is supposed to be in there because it keeps everything coated. It also attracts the right things and the right flora and that kind of stuff to where it needs to be. Too much mucus is another story. And here, you are irritating the heck out of it by eating too much and not chewing it right. So it's just sitting down there and it's literally rotting. It's fermenting. Okay? So, and when you have like a catarrhal situation, like you have too much catarrh, like that's mucus and fatty stuff. Okay? That will gradually set in and the lining becomes coated with a thick, slimy mucus that interferes with the assimilation of your food. Are you with me so far? Yes? Okay. So you eat too fast, you don't chew your food right, you eat the wrong foods, then you're going to end up in this situation. It's just sitting in your stomach. By the end of the night, you're kind of burpy and you kind of got this burny thing going on, and you might be bloated because you're starting to fill up with gas in there. It's all happening. It used to be, it would just happen like when you ate Mexican food or something like that. But more and more, it happens to more and more people every time they eat. So, again, Big Pharma and the medical gurus have all tagged it with a name, and they'll call it irritable bowel syndrome, they'll call it Crohn's disease, they'll call it this, they'll call it that. Basically, you're creating an acidosis situation in your stomach and in your intestines, and you're doing it to yourself most of the time. Okay, so let's keep going. So your lining gets thick and mucousy, and it's starting to interfere with the assimilation of your food. Then the decomposition and the decay result from that. Toxic matter is now, which, all this has become toxic, is now absorbed, which leads to severe disturbances that can be very far-reaching. I mean, you can end up with lots of problems as a result of this. And it starts very simply, you know? Okay, so by the time all of this happens and it hits your colon, if it's not in the right state, your colon can't do what it needs to do to get it through and out. We're going to get to that. So here, okay, so again, you haven't chewed your food properly. You're eating the wrong foods. You're eating too fast. And you are creating this fermentation souring process that is junking up your mucus lining, and so that now it's absorbing all of this toxic matter into your bloodstream. You took a wrong turn somewhere, right? Because our bodies are designed to work the right way, and this is definitely not the right way. So the golden rule of health is eat slowly, chew your food well, don't overeat, eat only plain food, plenty of fresh vegetables, salads, ripe fruits. The richer your food, like meats and eggs and starches and sweets, you need to dial that way back and base it basically on how active you are and how much work you do. Because those foods, again, will not be assimilated properly if you don't have the other processes, if you're not more physically active so that you are burning these things up and using them as fuel. Otherwise, they're just going through your digestive process, which is already toxic and already sluggish and not working right. Okay? So you got to dial that stuff back. Rich foods like eggs and meat and starches. Okay? All those yummy things. Failure to live up to these simple natural rules could actually land you in the hospital on the operating table, which happens a lot. What do you call, how many people a year have gastric bypass surgery? Because they won't control themselves and follow those natural rules of health. Okay, the golden rules of health. Okay, somebody else, another author that I was reading, Jethro Kloss. He's the author of Back to Eden and some of those other books that those of you, if you've read any of those, have enjoyed through the years. This is what he has to say. These are the foods that he lists as causing acidosis: meat, fish, fowl, tea, coffee, tobacco, alcohol, cooked pepper. And I've told you about cooked pepper, haven't I? Don't cook your pepper. I don't care what the cooking channels do. Do not put black pepper and cook it. Put it on after. Mustard, spices, vinegar, excessive use of salt, baking powder, soda, jellies, sweet desserts, candy preserves, pancakes, hot breads, pastries, fried food, irregular eating, eating late at night, excess starch, improperly cooked foods, starchy and poorly baked bread. Now, an improperly cooked food, what do you suppose that might be? Something that was cooked on high heat and has no nutritional value. That's an improperly cooked food. Okay? Poorly baked bread, foods that are too hot and foods that are too cold, and foods cooked in aluminum utensils. Way back then, he knew about aluminum. So, that's his list, okay? Now, I make my own sourdough bread, and I use apple cider vinegar every morning because I know that it starts as an acid and ends as an alkaline once it gets into your system. But I'm not drinking half a gallon of it. I'm using a tablespoon. Okay? You can get baking powder now that has no aluminum in it. You just have to look for it. And, we all know what sugar does. Feeds bacteria. Okay? So, Dr. Christopher says The food should be eaten as dry as possible, mixed thoroughly with saliva to a liquid form, not drinking liquids with meals. So that's another conditioning that we're very used to. We go to a restaurant, the first thing they do is come out and say, what can I get you to drink? Okay, well, I knew a long time ago that you're not supposed to drink while you eat. So I usually will just order water and let it sit there because I don't feel too bad about that, right? And I'm not paying for it. I don't think I am anyway. So the drier the food is eaten, the sooner the acid condition can be overcome. Chew, 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 so that your food is liquefied before you swallow it. Sodium and magnesium foods such as oranges, beets, carrots, cucumbers, okra, radishes, apples, cherries, strawberries, coconuts, figs, prunes, string beans, spinach should be eaten in abundance. I like the strawberry thing. And oranges. I like oranges too. Parsley is great for acidosis. So that ties in with something else because parsley is also very good for edema. So connecting some dots there, get rid of one thing, you might get rid of the other, right? Juices used for acidosis would be spinach, celery and spinach, celery and beet, and tomato. I think I might add a green apple in there. Green bell pepper is especially good for liver disorders, obesity, constipation, high blood pressure, and acidosis. Green bell pepper. 'Tis the season, guys. Plant yourself some plants, right? Okay, so that's our A, okay? Our first hurdle in gut problems is acidosis. And we know now that most of that is self-inflicted. And I don't know how we got so off track with that. Well, I do know how. We all lived in front of the television way too long. And we bought into the propaganda. And we were told how to eat, and we were told what to eat, and we were told that it was perfectly okay and wonderful to go drive through McDonald's and Burger King. And, we've been programmed. Again, it's time to take that part of our life back and realize that simple eating is going to keep us alive a lot longer. Not only that, it's going to make you feel better. The life that you are living will have much more quality to it. And a lot of your other issues will probably go away. Let's go on. Okay, the next thing is leaky gut syndrome. We've all heard about it, right? It's a condition where your intestinal lining is damaged, which allows toxins and partially digested protein and fat to enter your bloodstream. This can cause inflammation and immune responses and allergic reactions. It leaves you with symptoms like gas, bloating, brain fog, fatigue, emotional disturbances, skin problems, joint pain, and the list goes on. Let's take a look at what's happening and what can be done. Leaky gut. First, we need to understand that there is an imbalance of friendly flora or good bacteria compared to the bad bacteria. I don't think this is news to anybody, but we need the good bacteria, just like we need the good cholesterol, right? But we don't need the bad bacteria. But right now we have an imbalance and we have way more bad bacteria than we do good because we've been in acidosis. So antibiotics are the primary culprit for this. And I know a lot of you have taken antibiotics freely and at will for just about everything. Me? I don't even remember the last time I had an antibiotic. I think it might have been when my daughter was about 13. So that would have been like 1996, somewhere in there. It's the last time I took an antibiotic. But I know a lot of you take them all the time. That's the first thing the doctor says. Well, I'll just give you a round of antibiotics. Every time you do that, you're killing your gut flora. And that's not the first time you've heard that from me. That's not the first time that you've heard me say it never leaves your system either. So the more you pour in, the worse it's going to be. Okay? So I know. But what do I do if I have this or that or the other? We'll get to that too. Okay? So antibiotics are our primary culprit with this. They destroy all the good bacteria in your gut. And they leave things wide open for the bad bacteria to take over. A lot like something else we know about, right? Isn't that what chemo does? Just wipes everything out. Good, bad, and ugly. Dietary issues are another contributing factor, though. Sugar in abundance is a huge one. Okay, this includes foods with added sweeteners like, sugar, honey, maple syrup, agave, coconut sugar. A lot of times people think, well, I'm using maple syrup. And actually, I've even done that, with the lemonade cleanse. I use maple syrup because it is probably, it is more assimilated and used by your body than any of those other sugars. And when you're detoxing and cleansing, you want to make sure that your blood sugar levels don't spike or drop. So putting a little bit of maple syrup in that lemon cayenne mixture keeps that from happening and keeps your blood sugar stable. Okay, but you don't pour so much in because you don't like the taste of cayenne pepper or lemon. You just use the amount that's recommended. Okay? When a large part of your diet consists of this type of food, we're talking about sugars and such, it will cause an imbalance in your gut biome. The bad bacteria feed on sugar and this kind of food, and it grows out of control. This damages the mucosal lining in the gut where a lot of our immune cells reside. Okay, so what comes next if your immune cells are being damaged? Next label, boop, you've got. All right. The bad bacteria feed on this type of food. It damages your mucosal lining. It takes control. And next thing you know, toxins are just, it's a free-for-all. Okay? Too much toxic matter. And then actually what you do is you start snowballing, because then you get all this toxin going on in your body, and you'll have, it creates more of an imbalance and more of an imbalance. And that's why I say right now, we are, generally speaking, we are really out of whack, because between the diets, and the other thing that's a real big contributor is medications. So, you get to be 65 or whatever, and you're taking this med and this med and this med and this med. Well, all of those contribute to your gut biome flora imbalance. I had somebody that was really surprised the other day when, I don't know how it came up, but asked how old I was or whatever, and I told him, and he said, well, what kind of medications do you take now? What are you on? I said, nothing. I don't take any medications. You have to take blood pressure medicine? No, I don't take blood pressure medicine. You don't have to take this, take that, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I don't take anything. And that's not in my future. So, it's a ripoff, Like I said, we've been programmed to think that when we get to a certain stage in our life, this is what we're supposed to do. We got cholesterol issues, we got this, we got that, blah, blah, blah. Nah. We just need to take charge. Okay. So, when we add stress to the picture, who has that? we get higher levels of cortisol and other hormones that enter the bloodstream. And are you beginning to see a pattern here? Okay, so we have high toxicity, we have acidosis, and then we have this breakdown of our biome, our gut flora, our mucus lining on our intestines is all jacked up, and we're eating all the wrong stuff, and the toxins are now in our bloodstream, which is where our cells proliferate. No, baby, no crying. And before we know it, and then you just get, you start getting stressed out, and you've got all these other things pumping through there, and you are a hot mess before you even know what happened. And I kind of see how that may have happened to me, because it was really weird. Like I said, I just got weird. And I have had in the last year, I've had some on and off issues with my digestion. And I can almost every single time that happens trace it back to what I had not doing. I had either stopped taking my apple cider vinegar and honey in the mornings, and usually it'll take like 2 weeks before it catches up with me. But then I'm not doing so well after that. And I know, so what I started doing when I got this a couple of weeks ago, I started having a little bit in the morning, and then I did it again in the afternoon. And I actually felt great. And if I did, I wasn't sure if I had a bug or whatever, so I was taking some bentonite clay to detox. And like I said, I was drinking my aloe vera concoction, which was very demulcent and soothing, has marshmallow and some good stuff in it, and keeping my bowels clean, using my Smooth Move capsules, which is an excellent formula. The more I read, the more I realize how good it is. So I did all the right things, but I think I was just, it was a lesson so that I could do a deeper dive and actually be able to share this information with you, because I lived it for about, 4 or 5 days. I was like, it was bad. I was wondering if I was ever going to get to eat again, because everything was just making me sick. And not, like I wasn't violently vomiting or anything like that. I had this acidosis thing going on, and I just didn't want to eat because it was literally painful, the after effects of eating. So I just dialed it way back. I just ate tiny bits, and I ate really clean, drank only water, and I had I had a few herbal teas, and I had some ginger. I think I had ginger tea and peppermint tea, and I knew and I also had some plantain that I made some tea with, and I did all the right things, but it was horrible, and I never want to do that again, ever. Okay, so if you don't become proactive in these situations, you're going to end up like I did, not happy. It can easily lead to things like autoimmune diseases and irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, liver toxicity. Okay, all these things all these little badges that people wear all the time now. Well, I've got autoimmune diseases, I've got this, I've got that, blah, blah, blah. Well, how many medications are you taking? What do you eat? What kind of stress level are you under? What are you doing to counteract any of this and all of it? How quickly do you eat? Are you chewing your food? Are you eating gigantic portions? Are you eating too fast? There's a lot of boxes there that people could check. And starting with that before you even enter into any of the good healing herbs that can help with that. Okay, so let's keep going. So you can, let me see if you got this. Okay. I'm just checking to see if there's any messages up here. Like I said, my internet's really delayed tonight because I've got stormy weather all around me. So if I don't get to your messages, I apologize. I'll answer them online after they come through. Okay. Anyway, you can address the inflammation with herbs like slippery elm, marshmallow, aloe vera, turmeric, demulcent herbs that decrease inflammation. So I know a lot of you guys have gotten my slippery elm gruel mix from me. I had one gal in Conway. She would drive all the way to Hot Springs to get this from me because she said I had Crohn's disease, and she said this has literally given my life back. Slippery elm and licorice root. So she bought it in the powder form, and she took it just like in some applesauce, just, hardcore down the hatch, and it fixed it. Well, that and changing her diet and doing all the other things. So, but slippery elm gruel mix is definitely targeting that. Turmeric, like I said, aloe vera. Aloe vera feels really good when you have an acid stomach. I drank a lot of that in the last few weeks. If you have an infection, you might want to use some antibiotic herbs like garlic, golden seal, oregano, plantain, calendula, echinacea. Those are all good things that you can either drink teas, or you could make a combination and put it into some capsules, however you want to do it. But those are all antibiotic herbs that, especially garlic, and those of you who have taken my classes, garlic is the best. And I've even told you how to use it very, very powerfully by grinding it up and mixing it with some olive oil, packing it onto the bottoms of your feet, and then put some nice clean white socks on your feet and sleep. Make sure you put the oil with it though, or you'll burn the bottom of your feet. I did that. So mix it with the olive oil, pack it on. By morning, you'll be tasting garlic. It will have run all the way through your body up to your mouth. And that means that all of that antibiotic healing property has traveled all the way up. It's pretty neat. But there's a lot of things that you can do to cure an infection without running to the doctor and getting a load of, give me a Z-Pack or whatever. Okay, but you're just, signing a death warrant to your gut if you keep it up. Balancing the bacteria in the gut with probiotics and fermented foods is also a good idea. So if you are a kimchi fan, or if if you like to drink kombucha and that kind of stuff, those things are all good. Chewing your food as thoroughly as you possibly can starts that digestive process right there in your mouth. Foods to avoid: sugar, gluten, soy, dairy. Okay, unless you know that dairy, unless you own that cow or that goat or wherever you're getting that milk from, you just have to remember whatever is going into that cow is what you're eating and what you're drinking. Be careful. Okay. Drink plenty of distilled water. Prebiotics are fiber. This is cool. This is something you might not know. But prebiotics are the fiber that is in fruits and vegetables. So the fiber feeds the good bacteria in your gut, creating a better environment for that bacteria to grow. Dr. Christopher always said that 90% of all diseases begin in the colon. And now science is proving that. All right, I've got a couple studies that I'm going to refer you to as well. If you're experiencing symptoms like those mentioned earlier and they won't go away, you need to follow these guidelines. You need to start here, ground zero. Okay, I don't know why my dog is crying, but she is. Okay, when your bowel area, this gets a bit personal, but let's talk about your colon for a minute. Okay? Promise. I won't get too graphic. When your bowel area is like pocketed and ballooned up with old fecal matter, trouble starts in that particular area, and it will travel into that organ and that part of the body, and it's fed through your autonomic nerve system. Okay? It gets into your bloodstream. That's why, colon health is a big thing. Well, I agree. You need to keep your colon clean. And I used to love to go and have colonics. I had a gal that did colonics, and she was awesome. And I'm telling you, you felt like a new person. But that has kind of phased out now because of liability issues. And, it's just gone by the wayside, which is kind of sad. Which actually is one thing that prompted me to make my Smooth Move capsules, because they're basically a home colonic version. But there was just something about having that process done that was actually really nice. If you can still have colonics, I recommend them. Go have 1 or 2 or 3. Okay. Anyway, your autonomic nerve ring, through using your bloodstream, disseminates all this fecal stuff. Okay. All these toxins are being pushed through. Okay, and an example of this, and this is something you might not know either, is sciatic nerve pain. Okay, now, I don't know, this is kind of personal, and you don't obviously have to answer me, but has anybody ever woke up in the morning with a really bad backache and you felt like it was your sciatic nerve? It was down there low, and it was hurting really bad, and it hurt when you walked, and it was oh my gosh, da, da, da. And then you went in and you went to the bathroom, and when you came out, you didn't hurt anymore. Did you connect those dots? Because that's basically what here Dr. Christopher was talking about this. He said 90% of all diseases begin in the colon. When your bowel, okay, let me see if I can find where he talks about that. I wrote this down. Okay, here's an example. Sciatic pain, a painful inflammation of the sciatic nerve, usually a neuritis, causing pain in the thigh and the leg, tenderness along the course of the nerve, and sometimes a wasting of the calf muscles. The pain is constant, but subject to exacerbations, which means it can get worse at times. In this condition, it is found that clearing out the bowel area, and especially concentrating on the sigmoid area, will relieve the pain. Stagnant toxic fecal matter in this area through the autonomic system drains toxic waste through the bloodstream down the I can't read my writing. Something irritating the sciatic nerve. Rapid relief has often been given by a deep kneading massage of the sigmoid area. Okay, so literally that poop gets hard and stuck. Okay, and it'll give you a backache. It'll give you a sciatic nerve pain all the way down your leg. Interesting, don't you think? I thought it was. So again, my Smooth Move capsules are really good for getting this process rolling, because you can take as many as you need to take to bust through and whatever, but it does keep you very regular, and it does all the right things. It's a good blend of herbs. But constipation can occur throughout your entire body. It's not just about your bowels. Your blood can be constipated. Your oxygen can be constipated. But anyway, if it's allowed to advance too far, the colon issues can actually kill you, and we know this. So the condition is directly related to our lifestyle. So again, the good news with that is you don't have to let it keep going. You can change it. Okay? Eating highly refined and demineralized food instead of a plain and coarse diet Along with the strain and stress of rapid living, eating fast meals and lack of exercise, all of these things contribute to that toxic condition. When toxic matter is left to stagnate in the lower bowel tract, the system becomes polluted with poisonous gases, which congest and irritate the surrounding organs, causing adhesions and other ailments. Interesting. I know a lot of people that have adhesions. But you would have never connected those two things. A person should have bowel movements as often as regular meals are eaten. Do you go to the bathroom every time you eat? This would normally be 3 bowel movements a day, if you're eating 3 times a day or whatever. If your bowels are working as they should, twice a day could be the norm for you. AM and PM. Okay? At any time, the fecal matter voided is formed or hard. This means heavy mucus is still in the body. The perfect elimination is easy flowing material. So it doesn't have a big shape. Okay? I know we're talking about poop, but it's important for you to understand that's what it should look like. Okay? It shouldn't be something other than that, okay? And it shouldn't be runny. Okay. Again, I highly recommend my Smooth Move capsules for that, because after reading some of these formulas that people have posted, these studies are suggesting my stuff's already got all that in it. Instead of using highly advertised aids that are high in aluminum, which cause aluminum poisoning, which adds to your Alzheimer's and your dementia issues, okay? Use the herbs for the nerves, the stomach, and the bowels. Carminatives will assist the stomach herbs to improve elimination. Carminatives are like cayenne pepper, okay, which is in my capsules. Okay, papaya. Here's something you might not know. Get this. Papaya can digest 35 times its weight of lean meat and 300 times its weight in egg albumin. Papaya is a kick butt enzyme. Okay, I remember when my mom, she always carried this little plastic baggie in her purse with chewable papaya in it. Not the dried fruit, but like capsule-y or tablet-y looking papaya, and you could chew it. And she'd take some out and she'd be chewing on it every now and then. If I had a tummy ache or something, she'd say, here, take some of these. They tasted good. And I'd chew those. But yeah, it can digest 35 times its weight in meat, 300 times its weight in egg albumin. It's important because these heavy proteins, as well as those that are in beans and peas and lentils, are often difficult to digest and putrefy more quickly in the digestive tract. That's why you get the gas and the foul taste and breath, and you get constipated, you have a sour stomach, you have heartburn. All that stuff happens because these things putrefy pretty fast, the heavier proteins. That's one reason Dr. Christopher always recommended, backing way off of meats and those kinds of things and sticking with the lighter protein sources like lentils. Okay. So some other herbs that are very good to aid in digestion are kelp. Yes, kelp. And fennel, catnip, comfrey leaves, chamomile flowers, and of course the mucusless diet, fruits and vegetables, nuts, grains, and seeds. That should be your staple. And then you can add to that, a little here, a little there. But at least it's a plan and it's a go-to. It's something that you can stay consistent with. And then monitor your progress, how you're doing. But if you have serious gut issues, that's a good place to start. And if you're really hurting and you've got really serious things going on, this is going to help you create a baseline and get, so that you can see how well, how much more you're recovering as you go on. Like with anything else, you didn't get in this situation overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight. So you need to stick with it, and you need to stay consistent. But, after like 5 days, I was totally good. But I still am drinking my aloe vera stuff. I also took elderberry syrup, because my elderberry syrup is made with ginger and hibiscus and cinnamon and elderberries, of course, and some clove. And it's really super anti-inflammatory. So I figured if I had a lot of inflammation going on in there, it's not going to hurt me. And it didn't. I took a little half a shot or whatever every morning. And I felt better. So, and if I felt like, if I ate something and I could feel it coming on, I would immediately go and take a little bit of my bentonite clay water and let that work its way through and settle things down. I was determined to just get through it naturally and not go running for the Prilosec or whatever it is that people take. I just wanted my body to get normalized again. But understanding that it starts with that state of acidosis. If you can nip it there, you won't progress to these other things. But it's also really important to keep your bowels clean. I mean clean. Like, are you going to the bathroom at least twice a day? Okay, there's your map. Now, I'm going to read you some highlights from these couple studies that I found. Oh, and then I have a couple of stories. Where did I find those? Here's one from Dr. Christopher. How am I doing on time? Oh, it's almost time to go. Okay. Okay. Another lady had suffered from digestion trouble for many years, suffering pain from even the smallest meal, vomiting frequently. She had spasms of the pylorus as soon as food entered her stomach. After prolonged treatment and constant failure with various remedies, the doctor tried kelp. She experienced gradual relief and is now in a fair state of health. Okay, so kelp, kind of like Irish moss. And those of you that did the 3-day detox with us, I included Irish moss in your detox kit, remember? That aids in your digestion, and it also aids in your assimilation of things. And I think that's probably what the kelp was doing, is it was helping her assimilate the food that she was eating so that it went through the system faster and it didn't ferment and, get into that acidosis state. It's my theory. Okay, one widow woman who had the dyspepsia was so bad that she was given up to die by the doctor who had attended her for near a year and said she could not be cured. She sent for me, this is Dr. Christopher, she sent for me to come to see her, which I did. She told me to try and cure her if possible, to do my best anyway, and if I killed her, it would only be death. It would only be death anyhow, for she knew she could not live long if she did not get help. So I went home to prepare for doctoring her, and Dr. Vandeventer, who had given her out, hearing I was going to undertake her case, came to see me. He said, "You had better not undertake this woman's case. That complaint cannot be cured, and you will fail and you will lose your practice by it. The remedy for that complaint is not known. Search has been made for it as far as ships have sailed on the ocean and human feet have trod the soil, and the remedy is not found yet." I paid the woman 5 visits and made a sound woman of her. And what did I do? Nothing more or less than gave her a thorough course of Thomasonian medicines each time. I know no other way to doctor at that time but to follow the letter of directions. I had nothing but cayenne pepper and ginger for my composition powder, and lobelia as I went along, gathered green sumac leaves of the bush, which answered well for canker medicine, and to make a tea to put the medicine in for her to drink. This circumstance, being noised abroad, brought me as much business with the sick as I could attend to. And those of you that have taken my classes, you know I've talked to you about lobelia as being the smart herb, remember? Because lobelia is like a transfer herb. So it'll take the medicine to whatever part of your body needs it. I use lobelia a lot in my medicine, in my formulas. But this guy, all he had on hand was cayenne pepper, and he used sumac, and he used ginger, and lobelia. And he just kept at it until he normalized her acid situation, and she was healed. A sound woman. So, but it took a while. It didn't happen overnight. And everybody, we have such an add water, instant want it now society. I just want to take a pill and get better. I got to go to work. Doesn't always work that way. Okay. Let me see. I just want to read you a couple more things that I think are really interesting, and they give some teeth to what we're talking about. There's this one study. Okay, here it is. In a recent study published in Evidence-Based Contemporary and Alternative Medicine, the researchers examined how 4 herbs, turmeric, ginger, long pepper, and black pepper, long pepper being cayenne pepper, and black pepper, change the gut microbiome. These herbs have been used for more than 5,000 years to aid digestion in Ayurvedic medicine, India's traditional system of medicine. The researchers found that the herbs promoted strong shifts in the gut bacteria that are known to regulate metabolism, providing insights that could help us protect our health. Our study demonstrates for the first time that these herbs indeed, after the microbiome and alter the microbiome and produce distinct shifts in microbial populations. Thus, this finding is a starting point for which we can begin to decipher how the microbiota, interesting word, may change the gut biochemistry to promote and protect our health. Digestive disorders, including Crohn's disease, celiac, and irritable bowel syndrome, are increasingly prevalent in Western populations. I wonder why. More than 60 million people are affected in the United States alone, and this study was done in 2019. Treatments for the disorder are limited. In the study, scientists collected, it goes on to tell about the study and stool samples and stuff like that you guys don't really need to know. But what is significant about this is now opened the door for them to conduct more studies and clinical trials, and they're looking at it as ways to cure colon cancer, and several other diseases that, they're just literally kind of just throwing their hands. They just throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. They don't really have the answers. So, interesting, isn't it? Where you could probably just cure yourself by doing the right things. The researchers plan to test the herbs' therapeutic potential in a controlled human clinical trial in parallel with some lab work that they're doing. So I think that that's awesome, because anytime that herbs can make the scientific journals is good for us. Yes? Okay. I don't know what happened. What did I do with that other study? I wanted to... Okay. This is another Dr. Christopher story. A few weeks back, a lady approached me while I was lecturing in Texas and told me how glad she was to find a formula like ours that would work on the cause, in quotations. She then stated she had spent over $380 for colonics. Now, you have to realize this was like back in the 40s, okay? The x-rays now show that her bowels were really clean. But when she started eating regularly again, the problem reoccurred. True, the bowels were fairly clean, but the same sick, tired, weak muscles were there as before with no improvement. The colonics had only worked on the effect, not the cause, and had failed to give results. When the new concept of colonics with oxygen were brought to the market, it was very much against the principle. Okay, he's talking about, for a while they were doing like the oxygen injections and that kind of stuff. My answer to that is eat apples. They're 80% oxygen. Apples, apples, apples. Especially if they're off a tree that you know was clean. Anyway. This story goes on to talk about the fact that he addressed it and, helped her realize that, yes, she was much better because her bowels were clean now, but she had to keep them clean and they had to stay that way. Not only that, but like he had mentioned, all those muscles and tissues and that had been affected by all that for all those years now needed to rejuvenate and heal. So the same goes for us. We can't just go, oh man, I feel so much better, I'm going to go back to, I can tackle the world now. You need to continue. And my suggestion for that is do what I'm doing, and that is stick with what was working before. The aloe vera, the marshmallow, slippery elm gruel with the licorice root, those things will all heal and heal and heal. Add plantain to it. Drink plantain tea. And all of those things will repair because we know we get new cells. And eventually you'll have, you'll be better than new because you'll have restored those broken parts. So I hope this information has helped you guys. I hope it's encouraging you because it really did me, and I'm living proof that you can survive that. But just to recap, it starts with acidosis. So you've got to tackle the acidosis issue immediately. And that some of those things, easy. Chew your food. Eat slower. Eat smaller portions. Do not overeat. Eat clean. Coarse, they call it coarse food. In other words, vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, seeds. Back off the meat and the rich foods, eggs, meat, fish, butter. I love butter, but just back it off. Use olive oil if you need something like that. And eliminate processed food. Just eliminate it. Don't even consider it an option. That right there, along with drinking distilled water, will change your life. But it's a great start. And then, like I said, implement like my Smooth Move capsules. They have all those great herbs in it. And distilled water. Start noticing, those how you're eliminating and how often and how things are going for you. And I think you're going to find that a lot of the problems that you thought were permanent and things you were going to have to live with for the rest of your life are not like that at all. And you can take some of those labels off yourself and realize that, again, you have control over it. There is no medication that chooses your food for you. There is no medication that chooses the food you eat. And there is no medication that will make you chew slowly and eat slowly and portion your food for you. So you don't need any pills for any of that. That is all up here. You can do it. Okay, guys. I will see you next week. Sorry we went over a little bit, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you can get on the right track and enjoy a much happier gut this next week. Get in touch with me. Let me know how you're doing. Also, if you have any questions or if you need any further direction, as far as herbs and things go, there's plenty of things. Fennel is another one that's really good. And, but just keeping it simple for you. Aloe vera, marshmallow, chamomile, slippery elm, licorice root, cayenne pepper, ginger. All of those are good. All right. Apple cider vinegar and honey in the morning. That takes care of a lot of that initial acid alkaline balancing thing first thing in the morning. Drink it hot like tea. It's good. All right. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.